So, welcome everyone to Rethinking Dashboard Design, the creation of an analytics hub. My name is Oscar Martinez, and I will start this presentation with recently I heard Neil Hoyne, who is the chief measurement strategist from Google, saying this: the more we use digital, the more we use technology, the more we come disconnected from people on the other side. It is not uncommon to see people looking at dashboards disconnected from the story of the people behind it. I believe that in a certain degree this is true. I believe that sometimes we focus a lot on the back end. I believe the back end is very important. The data models, SQL databases, data flows, and all this kind of DAX and mQuery is very important. But I also believe that there is a great opportunity area on an often overseen area, which is the design and user experience. This hub that I want to present to you, this analytics hub, is one of the ways that I believe we can make a better user experience for the people who are using our analytics reports. Okay. Now, talking about the learning outcomes, the first thing that I want to try to explain you and for you to understand is the concept and the anatomy of how have conceptualized this analytics hub in Power BI. Second, I would also like to show you the tools that I use, which is basically applications on the user interface, user experience, some HTML elements, design applications that I use for the creation of this analytics hub. Then also we will have a little bit of time seeing some how we can create some reusable components for our dashboards, and also what it means, the model prototyping and wireframing on business intelligence. So let's get started, and let me introduce you to what is the Analytics Hub. Let me just first tell you that this Analytics Hub was thought for as a design exercise. And for this one I chose Bosch. Bosch is a German engineering company, which I am a true fan of Bosch. And basically they do a lot of things. I am more on the consumer side, on tools, on personal tools for the Bosch. So I choose Bosch to be the object of this study, or of this exercise that I went through. So let me just quickly open the Power BI report, and this would be the Power BI report. So basically, and let me just go very quick to my workspace, so you can see in here that the Power BI object that I am using is a dashboard. So everything that you will see right now is a dashboard. So I will go and let's go and take a look at the dashboard. This dashboard kind of froze. Let me just quickly refresh it. So this dashboard, it is thought to be more as a web page experience. Think of it not the traditional dashboard that we are used to seeing in Power BI, where we tile individual visuals. In here, all of the different sections are pages from our Power BI report. And then this was conceptualized as a more web-like or web page-like experience, where we will have at the top of it, we will have our header, then we will have what is called a hero, and as we scroll down, we have some more information, like for example the four sectors where the Bosch group stands. These sectors where the Bosch group have HTML elements that you hover over, and you have this cool sliding effect on it. Then we will have this one that says decoding tomorrow, which will be a call to action that whenever you click on the button for this call to action, you will be able to download a PDF file with more data and more numbers, relevant numbers on the Bosch group. Finally, we see other figures. In this case, we see sales and employees. And we have this cool effect, which I like a lot, from the map behind it, and this pie chart that is in here. We also have some bars. But it basically is on the left side we have sales, and on the right side we have number of employees. And then we finalize this dashboard with a footer, where we have this motto or this slogan for Bosch, which is invented for life. And then we have this social media bar on the very bottom. Now, also something that I would like to mention is that the concept of this Bosch dashboard was built around the campaign that a couple of years ago Bosch created, that it's Like a Bosch, right? Where Sean, the guy that you see here, is the main character of Like a Bosch. If you have opportunity, I would definitely invite you to go and check the commercials. Then you can also see at the very top on the header that we have these buttons that can take us to the different sectors, and this can later drive us to the different sectors. Okay, let's go and take a look at how I got to this concept, and also the design process behind it. The first, also I would like to start, and when we start, we will have opportunity to take a look at the first tool that I am going to show you, which is Figma. Figma is a user interface, user experience tool, which I found completely amazing and really useful when it comes to designing things in Power BI. So we will start building this type of dashboards with a wireframe. Basically, the wireframe, when you have a user interface or a Figma kit already developed, is really easy to use. And basically, what we will be doing in here will be just to start adding blocks to try to find out which is the best the best anatomy, or the best way of how we would like to see our dashboard page. In this case, for example, I included business sectors, as you can see. Then I included the call to action, this map, but then I could also go here to assets. I already created my user my design kit in here, and then I can just come here and drag and drop, and they say like, okay, this one would be futures, but then this could also be testimonials, or then this could also be a map, right? And then it's just a matter that you start rearranging the blocks so you can have, and you say like, okay, I am fine with my dashboard. Then something very nice also that you can do with this tool is that, for example, you can share this one, and then as you share this one, you can just copy the link, and then probably you would send this one to your customer, internal external customer, and say like, hey, how do you like it? So your internal external customer will be able to see how the dashboard look, and probably give you some comments about the wireframe of it, right? And yet the advantage of this is that you have yet not built or spent a lot of time building anything on Power BI. Now, once you have approval of the dashboard, or the customer, or you are satisfied of the way the wireframe comes, we will start with what I believe is the most fun part of it, and it's gaining inspiration to start developing and to start designing. Now, I basically believe that when it comes to start designing, you have to try two things. One of them would be to be creative, to have creativity, but also under certain boundaries. And this is where trying to find and to have this type of this type of document, which is basically the corporate design document, would be like very handy. I found this in internet. So basically, this type of documents will tell you how you can or should not use the logos, and also the colors that you should start using within or with any design. In this case, for example, in here we see what are the colors that Bosch Group accepts as their corporate colors, and then we can also have typography and other kind of very useful information when it comes to design. So now consistency is very important, and corporate image and consistency within this kind of projects is very important. So if you're working with a mid-size from a mid-size company, they should have this type of documents. Even the small companies usually have a little bit more basic, but they will have this type of documents. So don't be afraid of go and ask for your corporate design guidelines of the company that you are, or the project that you are developing for. Okay. The next thing that I will do is that once we could find this one, is that we will try to find inspiration. I mostly use Behance for this type of inspiration, because it is like super, you can find like so many nice ideas in here. In here, what I did is just like Bosch web page, and then you just start scrolling and start finding some moods, some web pages, some designs that you like, and then you can start gathering them in a mood board. In this case, as you see, this is the Bosch mood board that I created, and I selected these 5 concepts which I like a lot. And this is a part of gaining inspiration for your project. Okay, so you see how other designers are using which concepts, which imagery they are using. So now in here you will start gathering all this information, and probably it will be very useful that you start creating a folder like the one that I show you in here, where we'll just start dropping all the information that you get, all the relevant information that you find, the images that you probably would like to use, and so on. So let's go back to our wireframe in Figma. So now we have defined what it will be the structure of our dashboard. And the second thing is that we already have the inspiration, right? So we at this point, we probably will have a lot more clear of the path that we would like to follow when it comes to design. So now it's time to open Power BI and start getting to work on it. Now, something which is important to mention when working with Power BI dashboards, and let me just go back to the dashboard, is that usually a page will not have an exact fit on a tile from your dashboard. I've created this small one. So this tile that I included in here is a 16:9 ratio. So it's the 1280 times 720 pixels. And as you can see in here, if I try to fit it in any of these steps, you will always find these white bars either on the top or also on the sides of your dashboard. So basically, you cannot really use this one if you want a tight fit on your dashboard and having this experience of having this type of experience of a web page like, right? So this is why you need to start using some custom sizes for your Power BI pages. Remember that we are using in here, and everything is done on a dashboard, but we are pinning live pages to our dashboard. We're not pinning in tiles, and this is why I found that the right proportions. And I have this on my Figma file. I have the right proportions, right? So if I want a very thin page or a very thin section on it, it will always be for all of the objects will always be 1280 wide. But for example, the thinnest that will fit on a tile that it's one block height, it's 186. That will be like the ones that we will use in the footers or in the headers, right? And from there, we can go to different sizes. For example, 410, 634, 858, 1080, 1304. And we will finalize with the 1528, which has a height of 7 steps in our Power BI dashboard. So basically in here, what we need to understand is that a Power BI dashboard cannot be taller than 7 steps high of a tile. So let me go back. Let me just make this one smaller. And in here, you cannot make this one taller than 7 steps, right? So the perfect fit for if you want a 7 steps high content block within your dashboard will be 15 1528 pixels height that your page needs to be. Okay, it's always, and I at least this is the measures that work for me, and always for 4 blocks wide. It's always 4 blocks wide and 1280 pixels wide. So that would be the measures that work, and the ones that we will be using for our canvas size on our Power BI file. Now let's go to our Power BI file and let's start looking at the different tiles and how they were designed. Let's just quickly go back to the, not to this one. Let's just quickly go back to our Power BI dashboard, and we will see the different tiles that we have in here. So basically we will have in here what is the header and the hero. Then we will have what is this that contains the wash group, then the sectors of the wash group. Then we will have this one that is called decoding tomorrow, which is a call to action to download a file. And then we will have these facts and these figures with 2 maps of employees and sales for finalizing with a footer that contains a social media bar. And let's go and take a look how this one was built using Power BI. So now I will go to my Power BI file, and here on my Power BI file we will find our first page. So the first page, and as I told you before, if I go here to the visualizations and then I go to the page information, the canvas settings, we will see that it's 1080 times 855 pixels height. Remember that we earlier saw that these are the right proportions, so we can have a tight fit on the dashboard. So basically in here there is nothing, there is no magic at all. The thing that I would like to recommend to you is that, for example, I needed to do this image of Sean, the main character of the Bosch campaign, a transparent image. So the tool that I want to show you, and the one that I did this one with, is Canva. So basically here in Canva, what I did is that you can create, and this is, I found this Canva a very useful tool for different things. And one of the things that you can do is, for example, this is the image that I found of Sean. So then I will just click on it, I will edit the image, and then I will replace just remove the background of it. So now I have, let me just also erase a little bit this part, and then I will end up with my transparent image of Sean, where I can just download as PNG with a transparent background. So that would be how you make this type of images. And this is another tool that I found often very useful to do with, or to use with, Power BI. Also, one of the things that I use in here in combination with Figma is these buttons. So basically, when you talk about web page design, and also within Power BI, you have the buttons have different states. So for example, we have the active state, like a Bosch, that indicates that we are in this page, that this one is the active. But then we also have the default and the hover, right? So once we start hovering over, you see that we have a small bar, and also this effect, we can also see this effect on the dashboard, right? That when we hover over, we see how the bar goes to this section. So we know that we are hovering over this, and we can actually do an action like clicking on it. So in Figma, how this one is done, once you have a design kit on Figma developed, something that you can do in here is that you can create a page that will be a button designer, and basically these are buttons that contains all the states that you will need to later use them in Power BI. So then once you have this one, you can just select them all and go here and export all the layers for the buttons, and this will be exported as PNG, and basically you can later use these buttons within your Power BI file. Now, something very cool about Figma is like, for example, in here, I have these different headers for the buttons, but I don't really need to change them all individually. So for example, this one will not be any more home, but this one will be production, right? And then as soon as I change it to production, you can see that, sorry, I will change it to production. You can see that this will, oh, sorry, that was not the one that I needed to change. It's actually this one that I will just double click here on the text, and then I will click on production. And do you see how all the buttons are changing, and all the buttons change for home to production? And then I say, okay, I don't want this icon anymore. I will change this icon. So I select the icons, and probably I will say this will not be anymore home, but let's just search for production. Do we have? Yeah, we have this one that is called inventory. And now all the buttons have this icon, and something that you can do is just select the buttons and then just export them all together via PNG. And it was a completely painless solution for creating this kind of objects for Power BI. So now we have our production buttons for every state that we would like. Okay. So that would be something that I believe that it's pretty cool that we can do with Power BI. Now, the next thing that we can go is to the call to action. And basically here in the call to action, something that we can do in the call to action is just this was just like a very simple page. Once more, we go to the Canvas settings and we set it to the smallest, or to the less tall page, which can hold a Power BI dashboard, which is 186 pixels. And in here, simply not any type of magic. We will only find text boxes and a regular Power BI button. The next thing that we will do is go and create our business sector page. So in here, in our business sector page, something that we do in our sector page is that we have, and this is the interesting part, is we have these HTML elements. This would require a couple hours probably of workshop for designing HTML elements, but I will tell you that the easiest way for designing HTML elements, or at least when I was starting doing this, the easiest way that I found was to hire a freelancer in Upwork that knew HTML and CSS. If you have any question about this, who might be able to do this, just contact me and I can give you the contacts of the people that can create this kind of HTML elements. Okay, so now that we have the HTML, and let's just go and very quickly see the code of HTML elements. We are using the HTML content custom visual, and then this one is fed by a measure. The measure is called sliding 2.4. I will click on sliding, and then we can see the code. Basically what we are saying, and if you don't know a lot about HTML, is that HTML, the markup language, was built basically just creating divisions, paragraphs, and text, but it looks pretty crappy. So the way of changing this in internet was by using CSS, which is the name for cascading style sheets. So basically you create first the structure in HTML, and later you start creating how this HTML will look, and how it will look when it hover and when it does. So you can create the visualization of your HTML code via CSS. Let's put it that way. But something that you can do, and it's very, very cool in Power BI, is that you can later mix this with DAX. So basically you will get to a card, and then you can mix it with DAX. And let's go and take a look quickly at the code. And for example, the title, I have in here my HTML for title, but then something else that I added in here was this DAX. And basically this DAX, if we go to sector, to the DAX for sector, we will find that the DAX for sector is just like selected value of the page sectors and the column sector. And let's go and take a look at this one. So basically we have a very easy table that it will tell us which is the image that we need to display, the description, and the sector. Now we have created our HTML card. We can start replacing some of the elements by DAX. So we don't need to create each individual card via HTML, but we can modify it via DAX. In this case, as we have the selected value, what we can do later is just like by selecting a value for this specific table, then we can just shift between the different sectors, in this case of the Bosch group. And then, for example, I go for, and then the cool thing is that it changes the image, it changes the title, but it also changes the text, and it could change the URL that you go to, right? That it directs you. So basically in here, once you start selecting this type of you just start creating this type of cards, then you can just modify them really easy with DAX. If you want to know about this one, now there is one danger about using HTML cards, and that they are not printable when you export this to PDF. So that's something that you need to take into account, and it's an important drawback, unless you are using Pascal Kiefer's HTML visual, certified visual, which can be printed into PDF. Okay. The next one would be the sales and headcount, and I believe this is my favorite. And let's just go and take a look how this one was done. I will go to view, and then I will go and choose selection, because we are only going to focus at this time. Let's just only see how basically employees and revenue are the same, right? So the elements that we have in here for creating this chart, which I really like, is basically 3 Power BI visuals, right? So let me open them. So let's just start opening one by one, creating them by one. The first, we just have a bar chart, and this is using small multiples. I come to find that small multiples on the x-axis, sometimes the labels, they look nicer than in the regular one, that without small multiples. Then we also include a shape map. Now this shape map, Will Thompson created, or at least he presented the shape map, which is widely used right now, and I've seen it a lot of projects that are using the shape map. Then we have a card, but then we see that the card, you lose a lot, and it's pretty much impossible to read what we have behind the card, and this is why we needed to include a shape and a transparent shape between the map and the card, so we can have a little bit more of contrast. And now we have the employees, and finally we end this with a pie chart. And this pie chart, I believe that is one of the few uses. I don't hate pie charts. On the contrary, I think that pie charts are very liked by the users. So remember that we at the beginning I talk some about user experience. So basically, if the user is used to using pie charts and to seeing pie charts, we should respect that from the user. But I believe that this one is a very nice case for using pie charts, right? And then we have this visualization that as really we are selecting countries for the Asia Pacific, Americas, or Europe region, is that the map is showing the countries where the Bosch group has presence on these regions, right? And the revenues page is basically a copy of this one, but using information for sales and not for employees. And the last one that we end is with the footer. So here in the footer, also is something which is very easy. It's just like the thinnest canvas size for the dashboard that we can use. We can go here to visualizations and see that in canvas settings is 186. We have a text box, and then we have a bar and a social media bar, which only contains images. Now, one of the things that I like to do when I create this type of of buttons is the hover effect. It's very important to give feedback to the user that they are hovering over a button that can be later pressed. So in this case, for creating the hover effect, the only thing that I do is that I created this button. This is a blank button with an icon. The icon is an image that I created in Figma. And the only thing and the only difference that I do when it comes to the effects is that when it comes to hover, I increase the padding. So as I increase in 2 pixels the padding, it makes a smaller image, right? So that's really the only thing that it does. So if you see the difference between default and hover, it's only the padding that it's added, and it's only a padding that gives you the impression that the button is smaller and that you are hovering over a button, an actionable button, right? So now, once we have all these elements and that we have created, we can publish these pages into a Power BI report into the service. And let's go back to our Power BI service. And we have our report, and our report has the pages that we just created, right? The next thing that we need to do for this, let me just and the next thing that we will just need to do is that once we have our pages ready for being pinned, is that we will go to the 3 points and we will click pin on the dashboard. Remember that for creating this analytics hub that I am proposing, you need to pin full pages. So in this case, we will pin, and I will not choose like a bush, but I already have this DNA dashboard. I will pin live, and I will go to the dashboard. Why we're not looking at it? Okay, yeah, it was way below here. So now we have to do a couple things in here in order to make it to be of the right size. One of them is that we will need to go here to the 3 points. We will need to go to edit details, and we need to remove the display title of subtitle, and we apply. The next thing that we are going to do now is that we are going to resize it. And I found that this is like the hardest thing to do when it comes to working with these dashboards, resize it, because it's not, the user experience is not the optimal, right? So it's 1, 2, it's always 4 wide. And I believe this one was 5, right? 2, 3, 4. No, 4 steps high. And basically we have now our Power BI report. Our Power BI dashboard with this first section that contains a header and it contains a hero. And then we need to do the rest with the other pages. We will just need to start pinning them, and then we can just create something like the dashboard that we see in here, like a bush. Okay, so that's how this one was created, and that's how we got to this one. Now, the last thing that I want to show you is using Figma. And while using Figma, something else that you can do when it comes to prototyping, and let me go back here to like a bush. Something that you can do. Oh, let me just show you what is the show. What was the result? So basically, we come here and we create and we wireframe our dashboard. Then we create it in Power BI, and this is the result. We have a header, we have a hero, we have the content features, the call to action, the map, and then the footer, which is basically the same structure that we first devised here on Figma. Now, very quickly, I would like to end this one by showing you the prototyping capabilities of Figma. So something that you can do very, very cool in Figma is that you can start creating very quick different look and feels and prototypes to send to your customers before you actually start creating anything in Power BI, which can speed a lot the development process, right? So you don't create everything in Power BI, go with the customer, check if they like it, and then come back. But then also doing a wireframe with pen and pencil might not be the one that gives you a really nice look of what are the possibilities. So this is why I would propose to do it in Figma. So one of the things that you can do here in Figma is, like, for example, I have already created some different pages and the way they can look. And for example, in here I say, like, okay, let me show how it looks like the collapse left. And then I don't want tab, but I want an expanded. No, I don't want expanded. I want square rounded buttons. So you can start doing and testing this kind of stuff, and remember that you can always share it with your customers so they can go and take a look. But the next thing that you can do also in Figma is that once you go to prototype, and in prototype you can start creating how the buttons will behave and how will they be, what will be the navigation within your Power BI and how you propose the navigation. So in this case, for example, the buttons in here will take us to the different reports. But also we have, for example, this button that will take us to a link, right? As I show you, this link downloads a PDF, and I believe that's super cool. And then you can even play this prototype in Figma, and then you have your prototype, but it's a working prototype. And I put it like this because it's not really working, but then your customer will have the look and feel of this one, and they will click on finance. Oh, it will take them to finance. And then let's go back home, right? And then we go to our home page of our report, we click on start, and then it will. So basically we can have like the different like the different travel options as soon as you create these flows in Figma, which are very easy to click. You just go to prototype, and then you just click on this small, and then you, for example, say, like, I want this one to take me here. Whenever they click here, they will take me to the first page. And then you replay your prototype. And when you replay your prototype, I click and it will take me here. So it's pretty cool to start testing like different scenarios and different flows, and it's very easy to be then trying these flows with your customer, and then your customer will tell you, I like it, and then you will start building in Power BI without the need of redoing things in Power BI, which I believe they are way more time consuming than doing this with a design kit on Figma. So yeah, with that, I am ending my and just let me go very quickly once more to our Power BI dashboard, and this is how it would look. Now, this one, as I told you, this is just like a design exercise that I created. It doesn't have all the functionality, but this will be like my proposal that we start rethinking the dashboards more than a tool for pinning tiles, more like a web page like hub where we can start directing our customers and the users of the Power BI reports to the right place. Okay, so they will have a really nice user interface where they will be visually appealing, and then we will just start sending them. So just to recap, this will be another way of using Power BI dashboards. We also see some tools like the ones that I show you in Canva, Figma, and HTML elements that you can do. And finally, we also quickly saw the wireframing and prototyping. I hope that this very, very quick overview will bring you a lot more inspiration when you come and create your Power BI reports, and just think on other ways of using already the objects that we have within the Power BI interface in a different way.